Alright guys, welcome back. We had the new year 2025 and I want to talk about the best decks to invest in this year. Not only in the idea that if they get support, new support for them coming, which is obviously a big factor if you want to invest in the deck or not, but also in the context of the new mulch armies that have already been arrived and the next mulch army that will also arrive, since these will be very meta relevant cards, especially the Fuvalos, and decks that are good into Fuvalos will be better and others will be worse. I will also basically look into the future ball. I'm not sure how this is called, but I will look into the future ball and I will predict how these decks that we have right here, most of the relevant ones, maybe there's one or two missing, will be in the upcoming meta that we are already seeing in the OCG and TCG, meaning Ryziel, meaning Malice, meaning the new Blue Eye structure deck, and so on and so forth. So without further ado, we have a lot of decks right here and you want to save your resources, manage them well, and I will tell you which decks you can invest in right now or should invest in right now, and which ones you definitely shouldn't. We have best invest, a solid investment, then mid, which is not so great, and then we have decraft, which obviously means decraft this deck or do not craft it if you do not have it. So we have Goblin Biker here first, and again, I think Goblin Biker is a very solid investment and not putting it in the best investment category, since they will receive more support cards and definitely good support cards. They will also be very good in an upcoming Ryziel meta, since this deck hard counters the Ryziel deck. So I think it's very, very nice, a very good deck moving forward. We have Ritual Beast, which honestly is kind of mid. I wouldn't say decraft, but I definitely would say do not really craft this if you're not want to go fully into this. This deck has received its support wave. I can't put it here because it's definitely not bad, but will become worse. It's not great into Fuvalos. It's not great into upcoming cards like Dominus Impulse. So I don't think that the future is good for Ritual Beast. Then again, it's a strong deck right now, and if you want to play it, then craft it now so you can make the most of it, but it's definitely a mid-craft. Then we have these void things. I have forgotten how this is called. Decrafted, never crafted. It's super bad. We have Pearly, which I also think I wouldn't craft right now. Pearly, yeah, the time is, yeah, it's done for Pearly. We will get Pearly support in the future, but in the far future, since this is a very new archetype, I wouldn't get this deck right now. There will be so much better decks, better XYZ decks, Ryziel, and so on, so don't get this deck. We have Manadium, which I also wouldn't craft right now, or you could also decraft. There will be so much better Synchro Summon decks in the future. For example, like Centur-Ion, the next we have right here, so Manadium isn't really it. Centur-Ion, though, is a solid investment in my opinion, since this is very strong right now and will become even stronger with the very strong new support, and then will probably remain relevant for a while. We have Heroes. They get new support in a very future pack, which we will probably not get until mid of the year. So I would say it's mid, but only because they're receiving some support, which isn't that great. So it's definitely a mid craft. It's bordering on decraft. It's also very expensive. So in the sense that it's very expensive, you might also put it in decraft. It's okay, let's put it top of decraft. I can't really put it in mid, I'm sorry. We have Sky Striker here, not receiving any new support in the future, but going second is actually not quite that bad right now with all the mulch armies in the game. So I think this is at the bottom of the mid category, not the cheapest deck, but you can also combine this maybe with Tenpai in the future, when Tenpai will receive more hits. And then if a really strong going second option, I think this is a mid deck. I wouldn't really craft it right now, but it's definitely better than the other decks here on the list in my opinion. We have Duel, which is actually a solid investment right now. Might go up into one of the best investment categories. We will have to see. It's very strong right now and will become even stronger with the Fiendsmith stuff coming out. Probably will receive more hits in the future. So the best time to craft this deck is definitely behind us. But one of the strongest decks right now and will remain so if they do not decide to hit it really hard. We have Trap Tricks. I would say do not craft. Decraft. Labrynth is just way better. I hope they have this on the list right here. We have this here. We have Branded. We see a new rise in Branded, but there will be formats in the future with a lot of Bestials in them, so I'm not quite sure. I wouldn't say this is a solid investment, but it's definitely one of the better mid category decks, since it's always quite strong. It's one of the decks like Ritual Beast that if you can play it really well, you can definitely dominate with this. And if you have invested early on in Branded, which in the long term, seeing this in the long term, you definitely would put this in one of the best invests ever. But now it's definitely falling off more and more, will be power crept more and more. It's still in the game, so it's definitely a mid decraft. It's also very, very expensive. If it would be cheaper, I would definitely put it here, but it is not, so I'm putting it here. Super Samurai, I would say decraft. Better synchro decks out there will never regain its original strength. Lightsworn, decraft, just not that great. Go play Telements if you want to play something like this. But Telements, I would also say decraft. The time is definitely over now that Pearl Rhino is at 4 bin, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Maybe in the future, if we get this back to 1, the Pearl Rhino, this will see a resurgent. But I would say you are not too sorry if you decraft your Telement stuff, or definitely do not craft this deck, I would say. We have Stellar Mangrade, which I don't know. I would also not craft at the moment. So let me say this. I wouldn't decraft it since I also have this, but I also wouldn't put it here. It's just not that great, just not that powerful, definitely power crept, and we have just received support, so there is no support coming in the future. We have Memento, which I think might be one of the best investments right now, since they will receive very, very good support in the future, and they can also play the Fiendsmith engine that we will probably get in February. Check out my latest video with my thoughts on the Fiendsmith engine and the February pack always being very impactful. So I think Memento is a very good investment here. It's also a deck that is not too strong, so not a big candidate for really destructive hits in the future, which is why I think this is a very good long-term investment. We have this, how is this called? Ancient Gear. I wouldn't get this. I wouldn't decraft it necessarily. So let's put it a bit higher here. I would also put these higher than this. Is definitely way down below. This also way down below. And decks like this I wouldn't ever get, honestly. It's not that bad with Ancient Gear, but they are definitely better going second decks, like in my opinion, Sky Striker and obviously Tenpai still. We have Rescue Ace. This is mid. You can definitely get this deck. And combine this with future engines to come, Fiendsmith, Azamina, or maybe also in a pure variant, especially if some of the cards come from the ban list. Again, come back from the ban list, which I can definitely see in the future. It's kind of solid. It's a mid deck. I can't really say anything more. Floowandereeze has definitely received more support with stuff coming back from the ban list, so this might be not the worst craft ever, but I would also not really say crafted. I would definitely put this still in the decraft category, but not as low as I would have placed it before, since we are seeing cards returning from the forbidden section from time to time for this deck. We have Chimera, which I think is a solid investment, will get some support in the future, can also play the Fiendsmith stuff. Definitely at the bottom of the solid category, in my opinion. This will fall off in the future, I think, but it's definitely not bad, and you can grab this and still be very successful with this, and then also use the future support. Dragon Link is kind of always strong. It's crazy. You just need new dragons to complement older cards. So I think a Dragon Link is definitely kind of a mid-craft. It's not super strong right now, but there's always this potential to just receive new good dragon support and then have new cards in Dragon Link, so I guess that works. Kashtira, in my opinion, the Kashtira is tricky. You can combine Kashtira, the Kashtira engine, with a lot of different engines. It's just strong. Fenrir is amazing. Unicorn is definitely very amazing. In specific metagames, Unicorn will even be better when people are not playing multiples of their important cards in the extra deck. You can combine this with a lot of stuff. A little Kashtira engine can definitely go a long way. So I think this is kind of here in the mid category. I wouldn't go ahead and craft it right now. Then again, you see a lot of resurgence when it comes to the deck. A lot of people are playing Kashtira right now. It's somewhere here in the mid category, I would say. So I would always go for solid investment over the mid, obviously, somewhere around here. We have Unchained, which you in the future will be able to play with the Fiendsmith engine. Very nice. Still a very strong and solid deck. Not that great into Fuvalos though, which is why I would put it at the middle of the mid category, but only because you can use the Fiendsmith engine in the future. Other than that, this was never really a very impactful deck in Master Duel. With Fiendsmith, it will be better, but there are way better options. We have the Dino stuff, which all Dinos also the same case like with Dragon Link. Good Dinos being added to the game means Dinos get stronger. It's so unspecific, right? Dragon Link, dragons, Dinos. Then again, I would say this is somewhere here at the bottom of the mid category. Definitely not bad. Will always, get nice support from any Dino releasing support in the future. So we'll always see kind of an up and down, I think, and still have one of the strongest and most broken cards in the game. The guy that can say Dino monsters unaffected expected. Crazy. Then we have Marincess. Do not get this deck. And then we have Sprite. I think the time for Sprite is definitely over. Somewhere here in the D-Craft category, definitely under Tier Elements in my opinion. Maybe over Purdy. Don't get this deck. The time is over. Exorcister, same thing here. Better XYZ decks coming and already in the game. Not as bad as the decks that are here, but definitely something. I mean, if you get it, if you have it, you can still play it, and it's not unsolid, but it's just not great. Then we have the Samurai Beetle stuff here. Let's call this, let me quickly check on whether I have another Rika thing. This is Rika, okay, let's call this Rika, because you combine this with this. I have also forgotten the name of this archetype, Ragnarika. Rigna and Ragnarika, I think, is on the bottom of the mid category. It's definitely, it has this into Maxi, into Fuvalos problem, which is just even worse. I guess let's put it somewhere here at the top. I wouldn't get this. I wouldn't necessarily decraft it, even though my category says it, but it's just not great. We have Labrynth here, which is just still a very solid investment in my opinion. There's always, same thing with Dragonlink and with the dinos, if there are good traps releasing, like with the, how is this called, the Equation Cannon that we have just received, then it's just great. Will also be great with Dominus Impulse when that comes. You can combine this with the Fiendsmith engine. I think this is even better than Chimera and even better than Centur-Ion. Is this better than Duel? I would say yes, just because this is such a good long-term investment, Labrynth. If they do not hit it anymore, you can always go ahead and play Labrynth, and people can't side deck against you. People won't play main deck Dusters and stuff like this. You can put in Floodgates. It's just that going second isn't that great, but this will always be a solid deck for a while. I think investment into Labrynth is just great. This has been around for so long, like branded basically, and will be around for a long time in my opinion, because not a lot of people are playing it and it's not super dominant. It will also see no hits, and we are still guessing that there is more Labrynth support in the future, because I think we don't have this little girl here with the red silhouette here, and people are expecting there to be more Labrynth stuff. Yeah, we have Fire King. The more you wait, the worse it will get for the Fire King stuff. You can, right now it's once again a very good deck, and it can be combined with the Azamina or the Fiendsmith stuff, but the longer you wait, the worse it gets. I would put this over the Chimera deck, but under the Centur-Ion deck, because Centur-Ion will get actual support in the future, and Fire King is just strong at the moment, will receive supporting archetypes in the future, but then at some point will fall off. Still a solid investment, still a very strong deck at the moment, one of the best in my opinion, but yeah. Then we have Vanquish Soul. It's kind of nice since you can play Shifter, which is that one that's bad, and cuts like Ghost Spell, which can be good or bad. I don't know, I wouldn't go for this right now. It's definitely not one of the worst decks to go for. I would definitely put this at the bottom of the D-Craft category, but it's not great. Then we have Mech, which honestly I would say this is a solid investment. Then again, if Malice comes out, I think that we will finally see Circular going to 1 or Forbidden or something, because otherwise I think the combination of these archetypes might be too dirty, might be too strong. At the moment, it's still a very, very solid deck. It's not super expensive. Yeah, I don't know. It's, as I already said, I would call this a solid investment if not for the fact that we will get Malice and probably something will happen to the Mech engine, so I would put this at the top of the mid category, honestly. We have Temper, which I think is still somewhat of a solid investment. In the future, you will just be able to combine this with other stuff like the Fiendsmith engine, which is good, or maybe other engines, Kashtira, I don't know. This is still very good. You just have to replace the Tenpai cards that are missing with other cards from other engines. But then again, this will want to be one of the best decks going second in the future. We might see Second Kaiman going to 1, but I think this will be the end of the Tenpai hits. And you can combine this. We are seeing this in the TCG right now with, I don't know, the Bestials together with the Fiendsmith stuff. So the engine is still quite solid. And especially now that we are seeing a lot of hits for the engine, it's also getting cheaper, right? Then we have this Red Dragon Archfiend stuff here. I would say don't get this, it's just not great. Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes at the moment, I would still say this is a solid investment, even more solid than is Fire King potentially. Is this more solid than Centur-Ion? Will also receive new support in the future. Let's put it here over Duel. That's fair. I think that's fair. Since if we get the Fiendsmith stuff, this will once again be the best deck in the game. Fiendsmith Snake Eyes will be the best deck in the game. And then there's also Snake Eyes support in the future. There will probably be a point at which we will kill the Snake Eyes engine entirely, like we have just seen in the TCG with the Forbidden Mint strange word, of the original Sinful Spoil. So it's definitely one of the riskier investments, but it's like high risk, high reward, since this will be the strongest deck in the game in the future. Okay, let's be fair. Let's put Centur-Ion over both of them, since I think that this is a longer term game plan going for Centur-Ion than for these three here, since they will be stronger and be more potential to really be destroyed in the end, I would say. But super strong decks especially. Red Raptor wasn't great in the beginning, isn't great right now. Sword Soul will get support in the future, and honestly is one of the more solid decks in general, but definitely power crept. So let's put it here at the top of Decraft. Voiceless Voice, though, very nice into Fuvalos at the moment. I think we'll always have a nice spot in the meta at some points, definitely way better in Master Duel than in other formats. So I would definitely go ahead and say Voiceless Voice is at the moment quite solid. It's unfortunately very expensive, which makes it less solid, but still solid investment here. Then I would say that Dark World, yeah, I would put it somewhere here. It's not bad, but also just don't go for it. The Jandora theme with the Jandora Drake and I don't know, the Dark Magician that is also, and the Gold Sarcophagus, I think this is a combined one. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen, honestly. Ashen, unfortunately, also not that great. We have all the Ashen stuff. There will be more Ashen stuff in the future. And yeah, I don't know. It's just not it. Just don't get this. You can go ahead and play Red Raptor, then at least you have an unaffected boss monster. White Woods, though, is honestly might be one of the best investments that you can make right now, since it's very new. It is kind of expensive, but it will get so many support cards in the future that are really good. So one of the best investments in my opinion. Drytron, I don't know, just received new support. I would put this somewhere here at the bottom of the mid category. If you really want to play this deck, go ahead, then now it's a good time. It's also, and this has to be said about Drytron, okay, let's put it higher here, just because of the thing that I'm going to say right now. It's not that expensive. The Drytron stuff from earlier is very ultra rare heavy, and the new cards are also not that expensive. We have Melodious, which I think is a very solid thing, but not a solid investment. Kind of like here in the, do I want to, I guess Mefmec is worse than Melodious, since I can definitely see Mefmec hits, but not Melodious hits, and it might also be a bit more solid than Branded. Nah, Branded is just Branded. Can't put it over Branded, unfortunately, but yeah, this would be my list. Let's quickly rearrange here something. Memento and Whitewoods, do I want to switch them up? I think I want to switch them up. Let's say that Whitewoods in the first place and Memento in the second place are the best investments for the future right now. Then we have Goblin Bikers, which is really, really solid here. Labrynth, which don't receive any support in the future that we know of right now, besides a few traps, Dominus Impulse mainly, but it's just so, there will always be new cards for Labrynth, so it's so solid, even though we know that, for example, these three will be more powerful. Centur-Ion, that's fine, these are fine, I've checked this is okay. I would put this over Chimera, honestly, not over Fire King though. And then here, this also works, and yeah, here, down here, you can definitely argue how to place these decks here, but now I'm very interested in your opinion. What do you think of my tier list here? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know what you would change. Let me know what your best investment decks are. Do you think that I've definitely missed something here? Whiteboards, Memento, my call for the best investments for this year, meaning the decks that we are currently having in Master Duel, right? Obviously, in the future, decks like Ryzeal or Melis will be very great investments, since they have proven to be good. Blue Eyes, for example. Maybe I should put Blue Eyes here as well. Blue Eyes could also be one of the best investments. So let's in my imagine put Blue Eyes in here. I would also put this in one of the best investments category, since this will receive very, very good support in the future and will be a top tier meta deck. But yeah, this is it for now. Let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks for being here. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing, hitting a thumbs up and the notification bell, and we will see each other in the next one.